Ginger. So I apologize.
No,
You brush your teeth?
No.
Okay.
Okie doke. We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Friday Masterclass. For those of you who have been a part of our community for a while or have attended these before, welcome back. We're glad you're here. For those who may be new, my name is Katie Mack, and I'm on the community team here at the Mom Project. Here at the Mom Project, we're dedicated to helping moms, dads, caregivers, and allies unlock meaningful career outcomes that align with their personal and professional priorities. And we do this by connecting you all with job opportunities, with vetted family-friendly companies via our career marketplace, as well as via our community offerings, which include content, peer-to-peer connections, specialized programs, and events just like this one. We're very excited for today's session, Unlocking the Power of LinkedIn. If you're a job seeker, you know that LinkedIn is certainly a requirement to successfully kind of navigate your way to a new job, but simply having a profile is not enough. This session will help you to really think about how you can leverage your profile and the platform in more strategic ways to help you along in your search. We are absolutely thrilled to welcome back our friends Kelly and Susan from Prepare to Launch You as they lead this conversation. They are our tried and true partners, and we're really excited for them to share their expertise with you all. Before we get into it, just want to call out a couple of things. This session is part of our Summer School, the Remix campaign, which is something we designed to really provide you with timely and free immersive curriculum to help you level up your professional profile this summer and really help you kind of supercharge your job search as you approach the fall months. If you aren't already following along, we'll drop the program link here in the chat. And yeah, new curriculum drops each Monday. Just a little housekeeping, we'll get to a Q&A at the end of this session. We have questions we received as part of your RSVP, but please feel free to drop additional questions into the chat along the way, and we'll tackle as many of those as we can. For those of you who may have to drop off early, don't worry, we'll send a follow-up email with a recording to this session to all of you who RSVP'd. And for those of you who fall in love with Susan and Kelly during today's session, and you will, we'll also be sending along more info around ways you can get in touch with them in that same follow-up email. That was a long spiel, but I'm done. So without further ado, I'm thrilled to pass the mic to Susan and Kelly. Thank you both so much for doing this today.
Thanks for having us, and that was really well done. That was a lot of content.
You covered a lot. Very good.
A lot of coffee required to
We're going to try to do the same thing. So we're going to share our screen with you and take you through the slideshow. So as Katie said, we're going to start with the slideshow. We were having some technical difficulties, and unfortunately, we had no children available to help us figure out why our slides are not progressing properly, but we will get the content.
Yes, they have lives. They have lives, turns out. But we are so thrilled to be back here. And today we're going to be focused on why and how to use LinkedIn to network your way into your job.
So you kind of all know you need to. This is going to be, we're going to reinforce why you need to and then show you how.
So just a quick little bit about Susan and I, if you have not done a webinar with us before. We are both moms of four. We took career breaks ourselves and we opted back in. We have a combined 30 years of experience helping women return to work after time off with family. And we're here today because we use LinkedIn to network our way into a partnership with the Mom Project.
Seeing the Mom Project. We've got to figure out who these people are.
Yeah.
And so I said to Kelly, just let me go loose on them. And I just did a little bit of LinkedIn and commented a couple places. And the next thing you know, we're having a meeting with Colleen and Katie, and now we're partners.
So glad you guys did that. So glad.
Yeah, we like to live what we live what
practice
we preach.
What we preach.
Yeah,
practice what we preach. Yeah. So in this Mom Project Masterclass, we're going to enlighten you about the hidden job market. This is something that I think doesn't get a lot of airtime, and it's a little secret that all of you are going to know a lot more about by the end of this webinar today. And then we're going to teach you 4-step strategy to tap into it. And then we're going to just help you feel confident in implementing that and provide easy scripting so you know what to do and what to say, because that is something that can really trip you up from actually executing and connecting with people on LinkedIn. And we're going to talk more about that. We have a freebie that we're going to give away to you that has, the language that you can use.
Steps and some scripts.
It'll be really helpful.
All right. So the single best reason for finding or creating your own job before they're posted is this. I love this image because this top piece, those are the jobs that are posted, and all the bottom piece, those are the ones that are never posted. So only 20% of US jobs are posted before they're filled. And I know that seems outrageous, but it's true. It's a pretty well vetted statistic. The remaining 80% make up the hidden job market. And so by posted, we mean posted on the Mom Project, posted on Indeed, posted on LinkedIn, posted on a company website. So 80% are not posted. They're filled either. And that just does not mean with internal candidates. That means with external candidates as well. So why is there a hidden market? There are three primary reasons. Number one is it's expensive to post to jobs. If I'm a busy manager, if I need to hire someone, that means I'm already understaffed, right? So now I've got to write a job description. I've got to find my HR person, train the recruiter on what I want to look for. The recruiters tend to be young. So now I'm going to get, a pile of somewhat vetted candidates. I've got to go through them. That's taking time away from my work. And so often I'm not, as a hiring manager, putting that job posting out until I'm desperate, right? Okay. Number two, often you're working so hard and fast. We have this happen a lot, even with ourselves. Like we hired someone recently. We didn't realize how much we were working until we hired Tamara, and we're like, oh, this is what it's like to breathe, or take a bathroom break or eat when you're not in the middle of a meeting. We still do that. But because the organization of the team is so busy, they don't even recognize or have time to label what it is they need. Right. So, and you can't write a job description if you don't have a really clear idea of what you need. And very often a job is currently filled, either with an employee that I, as a manager, I'm going to be coaching out of the organization, although they may not know it, or that I might be promoting into a different department, but it hasn't been announced. And in either situation, I can't put a posting for a job out there that's already filled by an employee. Okay. But none of this really matters because good managers are always looking for great talent. So we have students so often in our courses, they'll say, well, I'm not going to really talk to them about a job because they're not hiring. You don't know that they're not hiring. You just know they don't have anything posted, right? And even if they have no hiring needs, if I met Kelly Biskupia, here's a good example. Yeah. I was working, I had another business partner, another company. We were kind of starting to part ways. I was working on my own, and I met Kelly. I was not looking for a business partner. I was not looking to start another business, but I met her and I was like, okay, I'm going to go wherever she wants to take me. I'm going to go because she came to me and said, I think we should work together. Hadn't been thinking about it. So good managers are always looking for great talent. That's a nice little compliment.
Yeah, thank you. I like it.
So this is really interesting. 75%, probably most of you are in that 75%, are using job boards, whether it be the Mom Project, Indeed, LinkedIn, or company websites as your primary job searching tool. It makes sense.
Right? Absolutely. Well, you can learn a lot in using those.
Yeah, I think we actually in our course teach more of using the job boards as a place to get information, not as a place to apply for a job. So your odds, if you're one of that 75%, 2% chance you're going to get an interview. Those are not really the best odds, right? Because 2% get an interview and then you've got less than a 1% chance you'll get hired. But 75% of people are spending most of their time here. So why are the odds so bad with ATS, right? Why is there only a 2% chance of getting an interview? Well, first of all, there's a 1 in 4 chance that the job posting is even real. All right. So, and I know this, I worked in big tech and this was before there were even job boards, but I know when we would post a job, that was after we'd already figured out that we already have an internal candidate we're going to put in the job
position,
but we still have to post it because that's the law. You have to show that you're an EEO compliant employer. So I have to post the job to show that everybody's having an opportunity to apply. Or I might be in a situation where I think we're going to land that big client in October and it's July. Right. So if we land that big client, we're going to need a whole new team to support it. So I'm going to put a posting out there for account execs and account managers and, tech support so they can support this client if I get them. I'm not going to hire anyone now, but I'm going to put it out there just to see what I can get. Another reason often companies will post jobs, pre-acquisition, pre-IPO, pre-merger. When you want to look like you're a really strong organization, what better way to look strong than have a lot of job postings out there on a job board? There's no law against posting a job that you have no intention of filling, right? So those are the first 3 options. And then the first possibility is that it is a legitimate job that I'm going to fill. So the odds are already against you just going in there. 1 in 4 chance that that posting that you are looking at right today is actually going to be filled by somebody outside of, or somebody like you. And then once you get through that gate, between 250 over 1,000 applicants for every job posting in the US. So for more complex or more attractive jobs, a higher level; for more specialized, senior level, maybe fewer. Those are not odds that I would want. And hopefully they're not odds that you want either, which is why we want to teach you about doing it a different way. So while the majority of people are spending that 75% of time applying online, 7% of them are finding jobs before they're posted through that hidden job market, and they're doing it often through networking by some type of referral. And I don't mean just direct, oh, I knew Kelly, you should hire her. That's a fabulous referral. Most people aren't getting those. It could be, I know Kelly who knows Katie, so I can set Katie up with my sister to talk to her. That's the kind of networking we're talking about today. So 7% are finding those jobs. Whoops. So just think about the numbers again. And we are not mathematicians, so we always make things abundantly clear. 7% of candidates. So the typical odds for someone who's going in through networking is 40 to 80% chance of getting a job. So 7% of all of you out there who are using your network, building LinkedIn, trying to find those jobs before they're posted, going around the applicant tracking system, have an up to 80% chance of getting hired. While the 75% of you who are spending a lot of time being really busy every day, feeling productive, writing cover letters and applying online and hitting post, have a 2% chance of getting an interview. So let's sit there for just 10 seconds and think about where you want to invest your time. Hopefully it's really, really clear. So where can you find the hidden jobs? So we're going to use LinkedIn today to find them. But the 3 areas that are most common are organizations that are just starting up or expanding. So great place to find information: your local newspaper, your local news station, like usually National Public Radio will have a local chapter in your area that might talk about that kind of stuff. Twitter is an absolutely fabulous place to find information. Often things will get posted on Twitter before they're posted anywhere else. Hey, we're hiring, or hey, we're going to open up a new office in Phoenix. That's often it'll hit social media before it hits the regular media. High growth industries, a really good thing to do, particularly if you're returning to work and really haven't been aware of what's going on in your community from a business perspective, or if you're in a new area, just Google, like, who are the big employers around here? What are the hot industries? What's growing around me? And then organizations that are in the news for acquiring a big client, being acquired themselves, merging with another organization. Anything that would require more people to help, more business coming in. And there's only one way to find them, and that's through networking. And the best tool for networking is LinkedIn. Now, we don't mean that you're never meeting with people in person. LinkedIn is the conduit to get you in front of people. So we have a 4-step process. And as Kelly said, you're going to get a nice little document that shows you the steps and gives you some scripting. So you don't have to write any of this down. The first step is to prepare. So you're going to do some research, like I just mentioned, about companies, industry, job titles. You want to search all different types of, using different filters so you can get different information. List who you want to connect with and why. That's part of your preparation. So, gee, I really want to meet with someone at the Mom Project. So what did we do? We found that Colleen Curtis. Then through Colleen, we found Katie Mack. It was all on LinkedIn. They didn't have any idea who the hell we were because we were doing our homework. We were preparing. Create a spreadsheet or a chart or something to track your name. So like in our course, our students get this spreadsheet that gives them all of the information they need to track, because hopefully you're going to be really busy once you start this process, and you're going to have 10, 20, 30 names. You need to know, when did I contact that person? What did I say? What was the outcome? What was I trying to get? So really keeping an organized way, and it doesn't have to be a spreadsheet. It could be just a chart. And then you're going to use what we call the connect, message, meet method to grow those strategic relationships.
So if you're feverishly taking notes at this point, just know that we have this, we're going to give it to Katie, and lay this all out for you. So don't stress yourself about that. And also in a few minutes, we're going to do a walkthrough with a LinkedIn profile and, show you how this actually
Yeah,
works.
it'll be a little easier to understand there. So the second step is connect. The biggest mistake, and we see this all the time, because I have a lot of people want to connect with me. I've worked in job placement. I've worked in big tech. I'm old. I know a lot of people. And I'll get a connection that's a paragraph long. I don't have time to read that. I'm on my phone. If the person looks decent, they want to connect, they write something very short like, hey, I know Kelly, we should connect. That's all I need to know. I need to know that there's some type of thread that connects us, even something very tenuous. And you're not asking anything of me. So the connection is low stakes. And I know not everybody teaches this. We have seen other courses where they say, write a thing, tell them what you want to do, tell them what you can do for them. No, your first step is to connect. You keep it short, sweet, very low commitment. Briefly reference your common touch points. I know Kelly, you know Kelly. I went to Boston College, you went to Boston College. I'm working in marketing, you're working in marketing. Oh, I see we both started out at IBM. Whatever it is, find that one little thing just so that they're going to say, oh, there's some recognition.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll accept.
When we do the screen share, like what we like to think of that is when you're looking at someone's profile, you are mining for these things. You are mining for that little nugget of commonality that you can refer to in that first initial connection. It's just a really great way of letting them know that you see who they are.
Right.
And here's something about me. It's a great opportunity for you to use that profile and just do that mining. So just remember these things right here: alma mater, friend,
And it'll all be on
member,
the document too.
former employer, and common industry or field. And we'll illustrate that.
And it just makes it easier for them to say yes, on your phone, click, yeah, accept. Step 3 is to message. So the message is the challenging part. We have language in the PDF that we'll be providing with you, and I'll be demonstrating in a moment. You're thanking them for the connection and you're presenting your case. This is why I want to connect with you more. And this is what I'm looking for. This is how you can help me. This is why you should help me. Maybe you can help them. We're not big believers particularly if you're a returner. So if you've been out of work for 12 years and you're looking to return to work, there's probably not a whole lot of work connection or industry support that you can give a Katie Mack who's well established in her field. So it rings a little hollow to say, hey, Katie, let's set up a meeting so we can talk about how we can help each other. That does not work for me. And we can only speak from personal experience. For me, I want you to be honest with me. Tell me how I can help you. If you're clear and it's something I can do, I'm going to help you.
Here's another one not to say. I'd like to connect with you so I could pick your brain about the job that you're doing.
First of all, it's gross.
But picking your brain is just too broad. If you can be very specific with your language and what your ask is, that is actionable. That is something that they can actually act on. So it makes me, as the person that's being connected with, say, okay, like I can get back to them on this.
Yeah.
This is something that, I could actually help them with this. Or, you know what? No, I can't, but I know so-and-so who could help them with this, and I could put them in contact with them. So that pick your brain,
or let's just connect to see how we can help each other out. No,
Yeah.
Make it easy for us who get a lot of those messages to say yes.
Yeah.
And then you're going to ask for all of these. Well, not all of them. We'll talk about it in a second. Most of these is going to be a 10-minute meeting, and that can be live, video, or phone. And then step 4 is to meet. So you have to prepare again. You're not always asking the same questions of every contact. You have very specific questions for each contact. So this is part of that preparation. And we'll give you some examples once we get on the screen share of some questions. But in general, you're going to ask for information. It could be about their role, their field, their industry, or the organization. Insight. How'd you get your career? How did you get hired? And gee, I saw you went from here to here. How did that happen? Intel about the organization's hiring process. Do you guys have like a certain time of year you're hiring more, or do you like to do like job fairs? What do the typical candidate look like from here? Names of other people you should connect with. So maybe you're connecting with this person, but really you just want to meet this other person. You should never be afraid to say, I'm connecting with you, Kelly, because I see we have a lot in common. I see Paul Smith, and he's got a role that really interests me. Would you feel comfortable connecting me with him? Can I use your name? insight on how you can get into the organization. And sometimes it's agreement to make a referral or a recommendation. So here's a slightly different example. Let's say you've already applied to a job that is a dream job for you. And now after watching this, you're starting to go down the rabbit hole because you're thinking, oh my God, I applied online. There's only a 1 in 4 chance that the job's even legit. And I'm going to be up against 500 other people and they're never going to call me back, which is probably true, right? What you can do though is kind of circumvent and enhance that process by connecting with someone in the organization, using the same connect, message, meet strategy. But then when you meet with them, you ask them some questions, say, I am even more excited about your organization. And actually I just applied to X position. Here's the job posting number. Make sure you have it handy. Based on our conversation today, would you feel comfortable just going into HR and saying, hey, I just talked to Kelly and you know what? She seems like a nice person and she seems like she's legit. As a recruiter or a hiring manager, that tiny little nugget, I know she's a human. I know she's nice. I know one of my employees thought she was okay. Kelly is now leagues ahead of everybody else because I don't even know if the people whose resume I got exist or are not in jail or actually have the skills. Truly, that's the bar is so low because when you submit, there's nobody checking on the front end to see if you even exist. So the fact that I asked Kelly if she could go in and just say, hey, HR, I met this person. She's nice. That's a huge, huge feather in your cap. So another way to do that.
So I just want to address this. This kind of goes, it's not really what you were just talking about, but it's where we are right here in this meet section, because we had a couple of questions that came in early. How do I approach someone I do not know that I'd like to connect with? Here's your answer to that. Right here is your answer on the screen. And how does one build an effective, high quality network as opposed to a large number of connections?
Yeah.
So do you want to say a little more about that?
Yeah, I think I'm a believer in being moderately judicious in accepting connections. So unless it's like someone who's clearly trying to sell you something, or some, we're female, so maybe a guy from another country where you have no shared connections, there's no reason. If you have multiple shared connections, it's an easy yes. If they're in your industry, easy yes. We know, and this is vetted by LinkedIn, that the threshold, that's why it always says 500 plus connections. 500 is kind of the threshold to have a meaningful connection, because it's not just that you want that one person to help you, it's who they know. The bigger your network is, and then it grows exponentially. A really good example of this is for us personally is a client that I had, a private client of mine who was a physicist and very unique skill, and he didn't want to be a physicist anymore. He wanted to get into business. He wanted to get into computer coding, and he was a great coder, but he had no formal training. So there was no way he was going to get through an algorithm. But one day he was looking at jobs, and there was a great job for him. It was a perfect fit for him, for his unique skills. And I said, well, let's look at your LinkedIn. Do you know anybody? Any first connections? Nope. Any second connections? Nope. Any third? He goes, yeah, it's you. I said, oh. And I knew Karen, who I helped get a job after she'd been home with her kids for 10 years. And I hadn't talked to her in probably 10 years, but I knew her and I knew she'd remember me. So I messaged her on LinkedIn. She called me. We talked how the kids, we did the whole thing, your career. Oh my God. Do you know Brian Murphy in Boston? Because he's hiring for a job. And I told her the story and she goes, yeah, I hired him. I hired him when I was working at Mass Mutual. I said, have you talked to him recently? She goes, no, I probably talked to him about 8 years, but I'm happy to, if you think this guy is good, I'm happy to call Brian. Brian emailed me immediately and said, hey, I just want you to know, I heard from Karen. She told me about your candidate. He's at the top of the pie. He'd already been kicked off the ATS. Long and short of it is he got a great job. But that's the power of having a big network, because if I hadn't connected to Karen and Karen hadn't connected to Brian, I never would have met Brian and my client would never have gotten the job.
Right.
So judicious, but not too. That's on the receiving end. On the reaching out end, anybody that you're connected to on other social media is a definite yes.
This is always a struggle, though.
I know.
I just want to give a minute of airtime to this. This is a struggle, and we see this with a lot of our students too, that you might be saying to yourself, oh gosh, you know what, that person's so busy, or they're not going to remember me. And all of these like little saboteurs come in and start running you, and then you're not connecting with a person, or you're not reaching out to a person, or you think the profile isn't completely perfect yet.
Or they're not going to remember me,
Yes.
or, right.
And you have to stop yourself, because that negative, we are hardwired for negativity. That's how our brains are designed. So you're going to have to fight against that. If putting yourself out there and connecting with someone feels uncomfortable, that's okay. That is okay. Do it anyway. Because it could be that one connection, and we've seen this time and time again with our students, where they will hem and haw about connecting with someone, and well, maybe I'm going to do it next week, and I will get to it, and then when they do it, it is always a really great experience of, oh my gosh, it was like that, not that big of a deal, it wasn't that, but we understand, and we know that sometimes just having that voice inside your head that's telling you, I'm just not ready yet, or I'm just not enough yet. We're going to stop listening, to turn down that volume.
And nobody's really, when they're just accepting your connection request, they're not really thinking that hard about it.
No.
This next step will make you even more uncomfortable, because now you're asking them for something. Right?
Yes. And so here's a really great place, especially Katie, given the program and Rally and all of these, supports that you have. This is a great place for you to have an accountability partner, someone that you say, okay, you're going to hold me accountable for making sure that I connect to X amount of people, or that I, make that connection happen. We watched this webinar today, and I want to employ some of these tools that they're telling us to use. And so using that community, using that support and accountability is really helpful. It's just, it's a good way to get yourself to do things that, they feel uncomfortable.
Right. And it's practice too. Once you start, you get there. When you have this meeting, I always tell our students this, people love to talk about themselves. Basically, that's what you're giving them an opportunity to do.
Yeah.
You're going to ask questions, they're going to answer them. You're going to listen more than you talk, you're going to take notes, and you're going to honor the 10 minutes. I'm a big believer in this. Now, if you're having a really awesome conversation and you know that the person's in no rush to end it, you can say, you know what, Kelly, thank you so much. I have already learned so much from you, and I really, really value your time. And I had told you that we would just talk for 10 minutes, and we're at that, and I want to honor that. I'd be delighted to go longer if you want, but I totally understand if you don't. If you want to do a follow-up call, you say that, you're automatically showing yourself as someone who's responsible, who's respectful, who has control over their time. And 99% of the time, they're like, oh no, I can give you 5 more minutes, right? All right. So really important kind of final things before we hop off and get on to screen share or LinkedIn. Only 20% of the jobs are filled, are posted before they're filled. So just by moving shifting your efforts from ATS to LinkedIn networking, you're quadrupling your opportunities. Everyone you connect with has had to look for a job at some point. The majority of them have gotten a job through some type of connection. The vast majority of them. They get it.
Yeah.
Most of them are going to be kind. There's a special place in hell for the mom who took a career break, went back to work, and doesn't help the mom who's coming up after her. I just feel like that's our obligation. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
You're only asking for 10 minutes. You're asking for information. You are not asking for a job. This is really important. You are telling them you want to ask about their experience or about their company or about their field. Do not mess it up by asking for a job. This is not the time or place. This is from someone who, if you take our course, you will have to show me that you can close every interview and ask for the job. But this is not the right time. You are asking for information.
And you're also building a connection,
right? And
right. This is a shift, especially if your networking was done outside and there wasn't a LinkedIn when you had to get your first job. This is a shift in the way that we think about things, and you are still building a relationship here. So you need to be responsible about that.
That's exactly right. Okay. And then lastly, and this gets to Kelly's piece about mindset. You are a valuable asset.
Absolutely.
You have potential to help them or their team or their organization, or to just be a nice connection for them.
Yeah.
Go into this remembering that. Don't go into this thinking, oh my God, I'm really inconveniencing people. I'm asking too much. It's not that. This is the way of business today.
We just got off a call with our current students that are in our summer cohort, and who these women are and what they have to offer the workforce is incredible, and it is needed and it is necessary. And we know that those women and people that are sitting on the other side of this webinar with Mom Project, we know that you are the same. We know that you have something to offer. And so you just have to own that. You have to own that piece of it and know that you are a valuable asset, and our workforce needs you more than ever, more than ever.
Yeah. I think that. Okay, so we're going to come back to this one in a minute. Right now, I am going. Did I share my whole screen with them?
So I think you
I
have
think I
to stop it, but I think you have to stop
Do I have to stop it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then go back in.
We're such
We're such
We're so
techies.
tech. All right, so we're going to go into LinkedIn. So I'm just going to pull up my page. So this part of the session is not scripted. And it's, hang on a second, let me get back over here. Okay, I'm just going to share the screen again. Okay, so this part is totally organic. I'm going to pull up my LinkedIn profile.
Look at all those red notifications. Lots of good activity happening there.
What was that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is like common. Look at all our like.
Oh, my tabs. I mean,
Yeah.
is there anything embarrassing here? I don't think so.
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Oh.
Not your tabs. You're
that.
out
Oh.
there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No,
yeah. I was just-
okay. So we have like a running joke that we always know our lives are, like
and I
we're about
I
to
took
tip
a lot
the,
off today.
yeah, but we're about to tip the scales of like our work-life synergy is not where it should be when we know we have.
When
so
the
much-
tabs are so small, you can't read the words.
Yeah, you can't read the words across the
I'm
top
not
of,
doing too bad
of
today.
every screen you have open. Anyway,
So this is my.
we digress.
We do that a lot.
Yeah.
This is my LinkedIn page. I just want to go through it really quickly because I know that you guys had some instruction on it, but there were some questions that came in. So I want to make sure that we kind of hit on them.
Yeah, I think one was, is there a formula for your about section? Should it be first or third person?
Absolutely. So if you look at the 3 most valuable pieces of your LinkedIn profile, we call them the valuable real estate. The first is this right here, your name. Most of the algorithms will read your titles here more clearly if you separate them by 2 spaces and a vertical line. You could probably fit 5 or 6. Don't do that. I like 3. I think 3s kind of work in a lot of things in life, maybe 4. But for me, it's obvious. I own this company. I write curriculum and deliver it, and I do public speaking. That's basically who I am. Okay. So this is number 1. Photo or no photo, always have a photo.
Yeah.
And it's not a cutout of you around a campfire. It's just your head. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be professional. It can be a snapshot, but clear where they can see your face and you're smiling and you look somewhat professional.
This can often be a minefield. The picture becomes the thing that they're not putting up there. We see this with our students all the time. Put the picture in. You have a beautiful face that needs to be seen. So make sure you get that in there.
We're also big believers in personal banners. This is a picture. It could be sunset or mountains. We see a lot of those. This is me in one of our courses. This is actually just a screenshot of me on camera. So if there's something that you can show of you doing your work, that's great. All right. Second most important part of real estate is your experience section. But the third to this question is here. It is always written in first person. And it should be conversational. It should not be very formal. So what a lot of people do is they'll take their third person resume profile statement and then just put the pronoun I and my in. But I wouldn't say I am an accomplished public speaker with a breadth of experience in various industries. I don't talk like that. I might say, I love speaking in front of audiences, and I've done so in front of everybody from, kindergartners to senior citizens or whatever it is. So this section should be conversational first person.
It should have a personality.
Yeah.
It should have your voice. We should hear your voice in the words that are in that section.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask just
Yeah.
jumping off of that, like a question? So, I do think a lot of people, like you said, with the resume, it tends to be super formal and people try to replicate that here. Do you feel like regardless, whether it's your about me or maybe your connection message to someone you're trying to reach out to use that kind of more conversational approach, like don't try to be as formal, like just what's your recommendation there?
It really depends on your field.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to it's kind of like when we used to have physical interviews, you kind of dress for the culture of your industry. It's the same thing here. So mine is, I am a really informal person. And as you read my about section, it gets a little less formal. I start out formal because I'm speaking in front of big corporations and big conferences. I don't want to come across as, yo, this is so super cool. I mean, you might get that.
You're
like,
yelling?
yeah, yeah, I'm not a yower. So you don't want to kind of go there. But if you're looking at corporate law, it's going to be more formal. If you're looking at, social media marketing or branding, it might be less so. Yeah, I think the best thing to do is write from your heart. Make sure that you're capturing the information. The tone is less important here.
The content has to be.
Yeah, you got to tell me what you do.
Yep.
I'm also a big believer in our course when they do them. You have a skills section here. It's a drop-down menu on the, on the real estate, using the real estate. Where is it here? And the real estate example, this is like the bottom of the line. This is like, what's the quality of the soil? It's like the last thing anybody's thinking about because it's just a drop-down thing and you can just check anything you want. Recommendations are important. They will be read for someone who's engaged, but the very beginning, it's what are your titles? What are your last couple of jobs? What's your experience? And what do you say about yourself? Those are the things that
what do you say? It's who are you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you do? Where do you do it? And how do you do it? Those are the questions you want to answer.
Yeah.
On a resume and here.
Yeah.
There's another one.
This is just about that.
So the features to avoid. So want to read that question?
Yeah. So what are some of the LinkedIn features we should avoid? And what are some of the new features we should take advantage of?
So we're not big believers in LinkedIn Premium. It's expensive. And we are LinkedIn, we're LinkedIn authors, we're on it. But the biggest advantage of being LinkedIn Premium is access to LinkedIn Learning, which is just, a wonderful assortment of anything you'd ever want to learn. But most of you can get free access to that through your public library. They all have free codes you can use. You can do a 1-month trial. But so LinkedIn Premium, I'd say no. Unless you're, and I think there was a question also about this, unless you are currently employed and you absolutely don't want your employer to know that you're looking, you should be enabling over in your settings right here. I don't have it because obviously I'm not doing it, but I'll click on it. I could go in here and say, I'm looking for work. I'm looking immediately. I can list all the things. But then when I come over here, you want to click both of these. This is recruiters only. Actually, in my perfect world, if I were looking for a job, I wouldn't want to talk to a recruiter. I don't want to talk to the recruiter. I want to talk to the guy who's hiring. I want to talk to the hiring manager. Very often, hiring managers will use LinkedIn to do some cursory searching first before they even hand it off to a recruiter. If you only hit recruiters, your employer won't know, but neither will anybody else. If you click on all LinkedIn members, it's going to give this little green swoosh that came out about 6 months ago. I don't love it, but you shouldn't be hiding the fact that you're looking for work. So if that visual tells me that Susan Rattano is looking for work, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to take a look.
Right.
So make sure you have those alerts on. But again, if you're looking to hide, to conceal it, then you wouldn't have that on.
Okay, so you just addressed that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to do, we know that, which is the company was it Accenture that just did a nice program with you guys?
Yeah, Accenture. Yeah.
So we know that Accenture
is mom project friendly.
Is mom prep friendly. So we're all moms. So we're going to type in Accenture. And I'm going to go. So you might want to take a few notes on this if this is not familiar to you. So not a bad idea to look at a company's LinkedIn page. You'll look at their website. You'll look at their job postings if you're looking online on a job board. But look at their website. Look at their LinkedIn page too. The most valuable searchable data here is in people.
And you want to connect. So when you first come to the page, you want to follow them, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
because then you're going to hear. So what we said earlier about the hidden job market piece, then that's going to populate to your feed. Mm-hmm. So if Accenture is now doing, a whole like partnership, initiative with the Mom Project, now you're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about what's going on and how that is being carried out because they'll post it on their business page.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we're not going to be able to get any help when there are 453,000 employees. If we want to connect with people, we're gonna have to filter it down. So I'm gonna just do it based on me. So where Kelly and I are in New England, right? So let's see, we're not
We're in the United States first, right? Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, but we can go, let's see. We can do Greater New York City.
Yeah, because that's close enough to us.
Close enough. Okay. So lots of different ways that you can filter. The best filters are geography, job title or field, and university. So think about the people that you're, especially if you went to a university, there's a lot of pride. And this would go, I went to a really small university where I happened to get a scholarship because that was my criteria back in the day. But it's got a really active alumni community. So it's been a great, I've helped a lot of people just through my small school of 2,000 people. But if you went to a big one, again, if you have an affinity for your school, some school spirit, that would be a great way to connect with people. So we chose Greater New York already, didn't we? So now we're down to 7,000. Let's do
University.
Let's do a college. Let's do something in New England.
So we're like close to Boston.
Yeah, we'll do Boston University. So let's see if we can get it down. We're trying to get the number down to so 61. So there's 61 employees at Accenture, which we know is a mom-friendly company, in the Greater New York area where we live. That's a meaningful number. That's a manageable number. So if you scroll down, you'll see who they are. All right. So, we actually don't live that close to New York, so I don't have any common connections
Yeah,
here.
you do. Go right here. Go up.
Common? Oh, I do with Ted. He's a principal though. All right. So let's say I am in, what field should I be in? Marketing?
Yeah, be in marketing.
Communications.
Yeah, communications.
Okay. So I'm in communications. Let's see. So sometimes this doesn't always work, but this is real time. Sometimes you can put a third filter and it doesn't really like third filters, but let's see if it works. Oh, good. All right. So let's see who works in communications. We've got Mark. We've got these nice Italian people. I like their names. Here we go. All right. So Katie Rosati. She's a senior manager and she's in AI communications, which is kind of cool. And I happen to know this is Catherine, a shared connection that I know. All right, I'm not going to connect with Katie yet. I'm going to get some information. So I'm going to click on Katie.
So here is where, when we talked about mining for that nugget of commonality, that's what's happening here. That's what you're doing. That's why you're going to Katie's page. You're not a stalker. You are mining for that commonality so that when you do that first connect piece of the connect message meet, you are prepared. And that's the first step.
Sometimes also what we'll do is, especially once you kind of narrow it down, so I really want to work at Accenture, look at a bunch of employees and look for who are the people they hire. Yeah. Sometimes you'll find so I just helped my niece. My niece just got a job at a company called Datadog. I think they're based in New York. She's in Boston. But we found that everyone we clicked on was a college athlete. And my niece was the captain of Boston College's women's lacrosse team, which was #1 in the country last year. So I was like, okay, well, they're going to love that. So she kind of did some research. So when she wrote her cover letter, she kind of just threw it in there. And she just got a job. She started this week, actually. Yeah. All right, so let's look at Katie. Let's look at her experience. We'll start from the very bottom. Where'd she go to school? We know she went to BU. So she has a communications degree. She started out in media. All right, so that's one part that would be probably looking at these companies. She was probably doing placement for these companies, like helping companies place their ads. Then she went to a startup, which is really interesting. So she moved from kind of just more the support role. Now she's client facing, account exec, senior account exec, account manager, very traditional path here. She left as a senior account manager. And then she went to IBM. So she went in-house, which is pretty interesting. Oh, look at that. Here it is. So she had IBM as a client. So then she went in-house. That makes sense. Watson, which is the product that she says she worked on, is their AI robot. So now AI media relations. So she's kind of come full circle. She's back on the media side, specializing in AI, where she cut her chops here after having worked at having them as a client here. So let's say I am really interested in AI. Maybe I was a communications person with a computer science minor. When I have this information about Katie and I'm trying to create that really succinct, direct message, Knowing this about her makes sure that my succinct message is hitting the right tone. So I could write to Katie and say, hi, Katie. I see we both know Catherine. Catherine, by the way, is a flexible work consultant. So Katie maybe she's interested in flexible work. For all we know, maybe she's got kids and she's working flexibly now. We don't know that. I see we both know Catherine and we both have some experience in AI. Let's connect. That's it. I'm not asking for anything more. Good chance she's going to connect with me. Better chance if I went to BU. Better chance if we both worked at the same company at some point. But that's enough. I've given her enough reason to connect with me and no reason to feel like, oh God, I don't want to connect with her. Mm-hmm. Then Katie connects back with me or accepts my connection. And then I go in and I say, I'm really interested in working at Accenture in New York City, or I'm really interested in AI communications, or I'm really interested in women who've made a career in media relations, whatever it is. And I'd like to set up a brief meeting with you to discuss your career and how you've migrated from in-house to whatever it is you're going to say. Just real short. I want to get some information from you. We have this in common. Let's meet. And in that template it'll kind of talk you through how to say it.
Exactly.
All right.
Because that's the hard part.
So I would say there's no real hard stats on this. Mm-hmm. So giving this example of Katie, I'd say there's probably a 75 to 80% chance she'll accept my connection using that template. Meet with me, probably 50, 60% chance she'll agree to meet with me. All right. I don't think she'll blow me off. We have enough in common. There's enough of a reason for her to say yes. She looks nice too.
But another thing is to check her activity, because you may think she's great and all of those, the connection is going to be great. But if she's only on LinkedIn like once a month, that might take time. It might just not happen.
So the way you find that, thank you for reminding me on that, because that's a really important part. You look at activity, right? You look at, normally there'll be a lot there, but she doesn't have a lot. So she commented on.
1 day ago.
Yeah, on a new baby. Must be maybe a teammate. No, it's not. He's a reporter because she's in media relations. A week ago, she commented on this.
And that can also, tell you.
But also gives you some information, like what is she commenting on? Is it all? There's a lot of likes, actually, that was in a comment.
But all this is just mining for that commonality. That's all that you want to do. That's that one little nugget that you are going to use in that.
And just kind of getting in their head, like what is it that she's posting? Because it may be that you look through her whole profile and there are no, to use your words, nuggets of connection.
Right.
But then you get into her feed and you start looking at what she's commenting on. And you see that she's commenting on lots of things about child welfare. Mm-hmm. And maybe you bring that up. Right, you maybe just somehow throw that in there. Just see, I see we both liked that article on, helping children in Dubai. I'm really, really passionate about that. I'm glad to see someone else's. Let's connect.
I mean, this is the challenge of making and building relationships in the cyber world. Mm-hmm. So you have to do your due diligence. You have to really think about, well, who is this person? Mm-hmm. And why is connecting with them makes sense? And that, because one of the things that, and actually this is one of the questions was just about being more authentic. Mm-hmm. And that can feel especially with networking, we hear this with our students all the time. Oh my God, I just feel like it's so created and not authentic. Here is how you can make it authentic. Mm-hmm. It's finding that nugget of commonality and just going there, because if you're speaking about something that you have a connection to yourself, you're going to come across much more genuine and more centered as who you are versus some stilted version of yourself because you're following, this is what I should say and this is how I should say it. Exactly.
Now, if I were coaching Katie on how to have a better LinkedIn presence, I would say stop liking things all the time and start writing something. So we got a couple of questions about being active on LinkedIn.
Your presence and your branding and all of that.
So the best way to create a presence on LinkedIn is to create your own content. So maybe you're not comfortable writing an article, although the bar for writing articles on LinkedIn is pretty low. I mean, they pretty much take anything. I have a client who wrote an article that I don't think would have passed 4th grade English, and he got it posted. So you read it.
This is an English major.
I have a high bar.
My little English major.
But you may not be ready for that, but you can certainly, instead of liking something, write a comment instead of just liking it.
Yeah.
And then maybe work your way up to reposting an article. Like, I just read this article in the Wall Street Journal. I think it really speaks well about companies coming out of COVID and looking at how they can be more family friendly.
Yeah.
And then, okay, that's now you've kind of created a little bit of content. But that's how you create followers, a following, and then people start hearing your voice and seeing what interests you. Katie is in media relations, so she probably should be doing more of that. Certainly, if you're looking for a job, you have to be doing that. So the page, and we're assuming that you have a good page, via the mechanics, because you've had some training on that, but it's not the page, it's what you do with the page. And a page that's alive, that has activity, is going to get much more notice.
Yeah. And so that kind of answers all those questions.
Okay, good.
All of those questions.
Great.
All right. So do we want to go,
Okay.
Katie, or were there any other questions that came up?
Yeah, I mean,
One of the questions, I'm sorry, Katie, there was one question that you didn't address when you were in there, and it says, how do I position a return to the workforce on my profile?
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so there was a question about what features in LinkedIn to use and what not to use. This is personal preference. My personal preference is not to do the mom break if it's, more than a couple of years. If, as a hiring manager, as someone who has 4 children and would have had 8, so I'm like the warmest audience you could get. If I see that you took a mom break for 12 years, which I would fully support, but that's all I see, it's not telling me anything.
Because you did a
Because
lot
you did a
of
lot.
work, and if you go back and watch any of our other webinars, you
You're
can
gonna
see
see.
that. But you
So
did a lot of work in those 12
Yeah,
years.
so I don't think that's good advice from LinkedIn. If it's just you've been out for COVID, that's fine. If you have a COVID break, no one cares. Everybody knows that. But if you took 10 years off, it's just a lot of nothing to see. So what we recommend is that you just lump your volunteer experience there, just like you would on a resume. You can watch some of our old work on the Mom Project that gives you really clear instructions on how to do that. But that's what I recommend. So that's one of the features that I would shy away from on LinkedIn. I think that's the other one.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's how the break. If it's a short break, it's fine. But if it's more than a few years, you probably need. In our opinion, you should have some experience in there.
yeah. And for those on this call, in our YouTube channel, there are recordings of those past sessions with Susan and Kelly. So if you're wondering what you want to do there, or you can kind of watch a bit of that. Otherwise, you can get in touch with Kelly and Susan, because that's really their area of expertise, helping you identify your skills and strengths and all these wonderful things you learned while you were at home, with your family. So
right. Right. So we're all there, all yours.
Yeah. So one question. So whether, pretty often, and I feel like people are being very generous right now, where if their company's hiring, they hear of anything, people are very quick to be like, my company's hiring, like, join us. Just because, I think everybody's trying to help people get back into the workforce after the past 18 months we've all been through. Okay, so say you're scrolling through your feed and you see someone post something like that, but they might not be your first connection. Maybe it's a second connection, third connection, but maybe if one of your connections liked it, which is why you're.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation for maybe trying to get in touch with that person if it seems like a company or role that you might be qualified for?
Well, let me just say this. It's nice that it might be perceived that they're just trying to be nice to help people, but that's not it. All companies, small companies, big companies, everything between, are often cash bonuses. Earlier, when I was saying the reason that jobs don't get posted is because it's too much work. That's why $1,500 is maybe $1,000 minimum, but bigger companies is upwards of $1,500, $2,000 for a referral that yields a placement. So they're going to want you to reach out to them. Think of it that way, because it's no skin off their nose. It's so easy. All they do is go to HR and say, hey, try this person. And HR, they might want to talk to you to make sure you're a real person. Most of the time they don't. It's because it's just a crapshoot. If I give you Kelly Biskupiak's name and you hire them, I'm going to get $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000. Why wouldn't I do it? So remember that, especially if, as Kelly said, you hear that negative voice saying, I shouldn't do this. And then just reach out and say, hey, you and I are both connected to Katie Mack. I see you have a job posting. It's something I'm really interested in doing. Happy to shoot you my resume or have a quick chat. Would love to have you, bring my paperwork into your manager. Yeah, they're going to be happy you did that.
Awesome. Cool. Do you, and I know, you said it's good to kind of work your way up in terms of maybe you start with liking posts, then maybe you start sharing articles, you got to work your way up to the engagement piece. Is there a sweet spot you see in terms of how often someone should be on LinkedIn engaging? Like, do you recommend daily checking in, doing some things, weekly? I mean, I know, especially in the hiring market, things change every single day, but I'm wondering, like, because it can be easy to waste a lot of time on there every day.
That's a really good question. Once we get to that point with our students, we say once a week, you should be on, there should be something in your voice once a week.
Yeah.
And that's real, it's realistic. If something big happens in that week, you're not going to say, oh, I already did my post or I did my whatever.
And also, I think we should say this as well. Just be really clear that this is not a place where you are, kind of letting it rip about something, or this is not the space for that.
It's not Facebook.
And beyond the fact that it's a social platform, and it isn't a Facebook. In this space, in the LinkedIn space, and we tell this to our students all the time, people have to earn the right to hear your story. And so if you have something that you want to say, this is a professional space, you're going to want to say that to people that you are connected with in person, and not on LinkedIn. We actually had a student who we actually hired her.
She declined a job.
She declined a job because of some of the postings for
the VP she
was going to work with, and she was really put off by.
It was ugly language. It was very unprofessional. She actually contacted the recruiter and said, "I'm going to decline this final interview because I can't work with someone who writes this kind of stuff publicly."
Right.
So just be careful. I mean, you use good sense.
I mean, of course we know that you know those types of things, but what we see in our students is that, sometimes they will, stand in their own way in putting themselves out there and maybe putting out a post or doing a comment because they feel like they have to tell their whole story of why they have this gap or why they have, a hole here or a hole there. You don't have to do that. That is something that is earned by people who have earned the right to hear that stuff. All you have to do is get a bit of your voice out there, a bit of who you are out there in a professional capacity. You don't need to give them all of the personal side of who you are on this particular platform.
We do a lot of reining people in our course.
Yes, or they just don't go on. They just literally will not go on. We had one student who would not go on the platform, and it was because, she really felt like I feel like I need to explain myself to old people that I worked with formerly, that why am I coming back to the workforce now? You don't owe anybody an explanation.
The other thing is that you're overthinking it more than they are. Nobody with Maureen, nobody even cared.
Yeah.
Once she got out there, they're like, oh, it's so good to see you again. Nobody said, gee, what have you done for 20 years?
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think that's an interesting point, because I do feel like with LinkedIn, it's people are really just paying attention to like what's going on right now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a place to read up what's going on in the business world, the working world, what the latest is with everybody. It's not like, you want to highlight what you've been doing in the past, but people aren't necessarily like focused fully in past tense. So I think that's really interesting. All right, I'm looking at the chat. I think we got through most of the main questions. For today, any other, I think there's still, and I know you guys talked about it a bit, like people are still a bit hesitant to like do that blind outreach, set up those meetings. Any last little tidbits or words of encouragement you could share with the group just to kind of get them out there and get them connecting and getting to that magic 500 number? For those
well, the 500 number comes quickly.
Yeah.
Once you get started, because it just kind of grows. It doesn't grow linearly. It grows that way. I don't think there's anything new we can say, but if you just think about from a self-serving perspective, you're quadrupling your chances of getting anything if you start networking.
Yep. So
if you're a busy mom, you don't have a lot of time. You want to put your time where you have get the best bang for your buck. It's clearly networking. And I guess the other piece of it would be everybody else is doing it too. Yep. Everybody who's working has done this. Yep. Anybody who's really, I mean, really anybody who has a job has had to do some type of networking to get it.
Yeah.
So you're not alone. You're not asking to do anything that they haven't done already themselves.
Oh, and I would just say rip off the Band-Aid, get an accountability partner and do it. And just do it. Make it happen for yourself because you want to be seen and the world needs you. The workforce needs you. We need what you have to offer. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks so much, Katie, for having us again.
Thank you both. We're so excited. Everybody, Susan and Kelly will be back next month for another session about interviewing. So stay tuned for more from us on that. But yes, thank you again. I hope this was super helpful to all of you as you supercharge your LinkedIn presence. And if you have questions, anything, you can always email us at community@themomproject.com and we will get back to you. So Susan, Kelly, thank you again. Everybody else, have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you all soon.
And you guys will get a follow-up email from Katie with links to stuff from us.
All the good stuff. Yep, absolutely. Stay tuned for that later this afternoon.
All right, awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so